If you haven't heard the news, there's a new Superman TV show in the works at CW. And while that led to a lot of speculation and theories, we haven't touched on it here on the Comicstorian channel. Well, they just announced a casting announcement, which has now led to a lot of people thinking that the Supersons are going to be involved. So, I think that's wrong, and I think I need to tell you what I think is going to be happening with the Superman TV show, my theories, and why I don't think we're going to get the Supersons. Which means we're going to dive into the CW apparent business model and casting choices in general. So guys, buckle up. We're going in for a full-blown CW discussion, and I need a little help with this one, considering it's CW. And we're going to be talking about the show. All right, now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the Superman and Lois TV show. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, I've kept kind of quiet about a lot of the CW shows from this year. Long story short, we're going to be doing a kind of overview of a lot of the shows now that they're wrapping up for the season. I didn't want to talk about them individually. We don't have room in our schedule for me to talk about them on a weekly basis, and not very much happened to make me rant about them. All right, so for those guys who don't know, Supergirl is going to spin off into a Superman TV show. For those who aren't tracking what's been going on in Supergirl, because it is kind of a divisive show on the CW network, basically, Superman arrived in season 2, would show up for 3 episode arcs a couple of times here and there, and for the crossover events. He eventually met with Lois, and Lois and Clark decided that they wanted to raise their child at one of their Kryptonian cities that they had found. I believe it was Kandor. I might not be 100% correct on that. I don't follow the Supergirl show that closely. I normally pop in for big events, like Lex Luthor's here, or Superman's coming in to fight Supergirl, that kind of a thing. The characters left to go raise their child, and that was the last we had heard of them. I believe it was at the end of the last crossover that was their decision. So now they're going to have a spin-off show showing a father-type Superman and Lois raising their child. No one has known anything of that outside of that idea. That is all they have said about the show. It will feature the Superman from the Supergirl show, Clark, and the Lois from the Supergirl show, and they are now going to be raising their child, which of course has led everyone to asking the question, is it John or Connor or one of the other Superboys? Now, the immediate answer is obviously going to be John. In continuity of comic books, John is the only actual son of Superman in proper continuity. We've got a few here and there in various alternate realities, but the only one that has ever stayed in main continuity is John, and he's a fan favorite at this point. He's a character that was introduced as I don't even know how to explain it, but long story short, in Convergence, a storyline that involved multiple universes, we discovered a pregnant Lois and a Superman. They had a baby. They showed back up later in the New 52 before everyone got all weird and Superman merged. Long story short, in proper continuity, Superman has a son named Jonathan Kent. Okay? And that child is about 11 to 12 in the comics until Brian Michael Bendis aged him up to about 16. So that's where he's at in the comics right now. There's a casting call that has gone out for 2 males. A character named Matthew in the casting call, a 13 to 16-year-old, to be played by a 14-year-old Caucasian male, well on his way to becoming a physical specimen, clean-cut, modest, kind-hearted, and an aw-shucks attitude that somehow doesn't seem dated. 3-sport athlete who's already garnered attention from college and pro scouts. And a second one, Ethan. They need a male 13 to 16 years old to play a 14-year-old Caucasian young Leonardo DiCaprio who has an inherent darkness to him. Ethan's wildly intelligent, but his mercantile temperament and social anxiety limits his interactions with people, and consequently, he spends most of his time playing video games. So that's me as a child. So we have 2 characters that they're trying to get into that are 14-year-old Caucasian males. And this has led to a lot of theories going on with, oh my God, did you hear the Supersons are being cast? I don't think that's the case, okay? I really don't. First off, we're going to go into the more obvious reasons why I don't think this is the case of being the Supersons. First, we have 2 straight Caucasian males. Now, a lot of people don't realize this. Jonathan is a Caucasian male. Well, I guess technically Kryptonian, but whatever. We're not going to split hairs on that one. He's a Caucasian male. But Damian is actually half Middle Eastern. Talia al Ghul and Ra's al Ghul, Raish al Ghul, however you want to pronounce it, whatever your favorite pronunciation is the half of the family for Damian, making Bruce only half the family for Damian. So we have a half Middle Eastern character that doesn't get brought up very often. But let's go back and look at the CW. The CW's motto is Dare to Defy. And what they do with that motto is they bring in a lot of minority representation. They bring in a lot of female representation. They bring in a lot of LGBTQ representation. That's what they do with it. No problems with that at all. I don't think that the CW network, which is known for doing this, would pass up the opportunity to take in Bruce Wayne's half Middle Eastern son and make him a half Middle Eastern or full Middle Eastern character in the CW universe. They already tackle a lot of minority and LGBTQ and female issues in their other shows. Why would they take their show, which has got a prominently white cast right now of Superman and Lois and Jonathan, and not take the opportunity to bring in a Middle Eastern Damian Wayne, olive-skinned, make him deal with being racially profiled and stuff like that. This is all stuff I totally see the CW taking advantage of if they were to do Damian. I don't think they're going to do Damian at all, though. I don't think they're going to do Batman at all. Let's go back and look at how they introduced Superman. Now, they decided to create the show Supergirl. Well, they didn't create it. It was made by DC, and they bought the rights, and they moved it over to CW. Regardless, they had the show Supergirl. And immediately, they introduced the Superman character once they picked it up on the CW network. But Superman, he was only in for 3 episodes at a time. And the purpose of that was a marketing ploy. It was to make all of us comic book fans who wanted a Superman show to go, oh my God, Superman's in the Supergirl show. And then we would watch the Supergirl show, get to know Supergirl and her supporting cast, and want to watch more of that show. They used Superman as a way to get the fans wanting Supergirl as a show because we get Superman in a Supergirl show. So we want the Supergirl show. We want more Superman crossovers. They did that for, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, and I may be wrong, but I believe 3 seasons of cameos from Superman, leading up to the announcement of a Superman show. Now, a lot of people like to be like, well, they were just using Superman to get people to watch Supergirl. I, on a personal level, think that that's half the equation. Yes, they wanted you to watch the Supergirl show, so they therefore gave you a Superman character to make you want to watch the Supergirl show. But CW is also not stupid, contrary to what a lot of people want to say about them, okay? Think about this for a moment. If I want a Superman show, and I can get it in Supergirl for 4 to 5 to 6 seasons, well, I'm going to watch the Supergirl show to get my Superman. And if at the 4 to 5 to 6 season marker, when they feel the Supergirl show as maybe overstaying its welcome, it may be winding down in ratings, why don't we take the Superman character and make him a spin-off show based on Supergirl? So if we were able to make you watch Supergirl by bringing in Superman, so they got everyone who wanted to watch Supergirl, and they got all the, because I want to clarify, there are fans of Supergirl here. Gary in our office enjoys the Supergirl show for what it is. I enjoy it for what it is. I just don't have time to watch that one, so I only really jump in for crossovers and Superman appearances. I don't think the Supergirl show is an inherently bad show. But what they do get to do is have a show that has its core fan base, and then every couple of months or whenever they want to do a Superman crossover, they get to get a ratings bump. They get to have it in sweeps, which is a thing in TV terms in which they try to rush everything in and get all the advertisers in. They get to have all of us comic book fans who aren't really watching Supergirl show up, see what's going on in the Supergirl plot thanks to Superman, and maybe we're going to stick around. They get to constantly bump their views up and then kind of peter off, and oh no, they're falling down. Superman, peter off, falling back down. Superman. We do the exact same thing on our YouTube channel. I'll try a bunch of different ideas, and when I notice the views starting to fall off, that's when you'll see like Deadpool video or, the Death of Batman video. Those pop up when I need to get a bump in my ratings. So CW as a network has been using Superman in that role. And when they feel that Supergirl's on its way out, maybe it's on its last season or 2, they're going to announce the conclusion soon. I don't know, but maybe they are. Let's kick off a Superman show. So that way we can maintain a lot of our fan base and get new fans with a Superman show. Now, I talk about this for a reason, because I know a lot of people are currently attacking Batwoman, and I feel like that's an entirely different video in itself that I could easily talk about Batwoman, which, for the record, this is a quick little tangent. I don't feel Batwoman is a terrible show. I feel Batwoman is dealing with some interesting casting choices, a really shoddy costume in the first couple of episodes, but the issues that I have with Batwoman are entirely related to the actress Ruby Rose not really being in a main lead role, and I feel she'll she'll totally be growing into that, no problems at all. The latest episode, she's already doing better than she did in the original ones. And if you don't know, she got injured in the original episodes, which may have had an effect on her acting ability. The supporting cast in Batwoman was great. I love the overall plot. I think the show's great. The biggest issue I see a lot of people complaining about is that they're shoehorning a lesbian affair into the show. If you feel that way, you've never read a Batwoman comic. Not as a supporting character in Batman, a Batwoman comic. That has always been the character. She is very LGBTQ forward. She's very much a lesbian character, and that is in her books. So I don't complain about that at all. And like I said, I could probably do an entire video on Batwoman, so we're not going to super tackle that. Long story short, I like Batwoman, and I feel it has some inherent problems that will be ironed out as the seasons go on. But I bring up Batwoman for a reason, because it's going to go back to why I don't think we're going to get Damian, of all people, okay? So using what they did with Supergirl to boost the sales, they're doing the same thing with Batwoman. They're teasing us Batman right now. And I guarantee you we're going to get Batman at the end of season 1 or in season 2. He's going to show up. And I guarantee you, I stake my comic book knowledge on, I don't know what I could offer you guys. Batman is going to show up for 3-episode arcs twice a season for about 3 or 4 seasons. He will not be get his own show. He will not be a main character. When he does show up, I guarantee you they're going to go with the plot of Batman Incorporated. Batman's off doing his own thing. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's never here. Batwoman, you've got Gotham. I got to go do other things. And for those who don't know, that is a plot from the comics. Batman vanished for a while, came back, discovered Dick Grayson was Batman, and literally said, hey, Dick, you got this. You're Batman of Gotham. I'm going to go globe-trotting, and I'm going to be the Batman of the world. I 100% see them doing that route with Batwoman, and I bring this up for a reason. So if they're going to use the same plan, they're going to use Batman as the sweeps, as the way to boost the ratings. Batman finally appears in Batwoman. If they're going to do that for 2 to 4 seasons, you cannot have Batman accessible in a different show, okay? And if Batman is not accessible in a different show, well, we can't have Batman's son in a different show. So think about this for a moment. If Batman is globe-trotting, he's not around, he's doing his own thing, well, why would Damian be conveniently hanging out with John 24/7? It really wouldn't make sense. And if you're not following the CW continuity, Supergirl takes place in an alternate reality from Batwoman and all these other shows, okay? Batwoman is in the Arrowverse, well, technically the Green Arrow Flash reality. That's where she is, okay? And that was... I know it gets a little confusing, but I'm using my basis for that argument on the fact that when they did the last crossover, Flash and Arrow talked about Batman and Batwoman in their universe. Meaning Supergirl and Superman are in a different universe. So you can't have conveniently Batman in Universe 1 show up, have a son who then hops universes to go hang out with go hang out with John. That wouldn't make sense. And you can't introduce Batman into the Superman show, because if you do that, then everybody who is watching Batwoman to try and catch Batman is going to go, well, Batman's not in Batwoman. He's over in Superman. So I'm going to go over here and watch Superman. Okay? So what I'm basically getting at is they're not going to give us Batman for 3 to 4 years at least as a regular. And I don't foresee, and that's even if WB lets us use Batman on the CW universe. There's a chance they won't even let him touch real Batman. It has to stay with Batman ancillary characters, support characters, and copy characters. It's going to have to stay with that. There's a really good chance that that's going to be the case. But what I'm getting at is if we don't get a stable Batman and Batwoman, which I don't see us getting for 3 to 4 years, we're going to get a cameo Batman in that show. Then we're not going to get one in Superman. And if we're not getting a stable Superman-Batman character, then we're not going to get Damian. And on top of that, if CW is going to do what CW normally does, of course they would go with a Middle Eastern Damian. They would not go with a Caucasian and a whitewashed Damian. And if that were the case, so basically what I'm getting at is this casting call does not say Damian to me. So now you're probably going, Benny, you've been rambling about CW and its representations and everything they're doing and how you don't think it's going to be the Supersons. What do you think this is going to be? This is floating around the internet, but Dan also said it in our office, and I don't want to give him give him credit for this. 2 Caucasian kids around the age of 14. I think we're going to get Superman and Lex as kids again. If you think about this casting for a moment, a clean-cut, modest, kind-hearted, aw shucks attitude, Clark Kent is a kid. A young Leonardo DiCaprio with an inherent darkness and Ethan's wildly intelligent. Obviously, they're masking their names, Matthew and Ethan. Not going to say young Clark, young Lex. But if he's wildly intelligent with a social anxiety that limits his interactions with people, for the record, that also doesn't sound like Damian in any way, shape, or form. When have we ever known Damian to have a social anxiety that limits his interactions with people? If anything, it would be like he has a temperament and social problems that leads to arguing with everyone. Like, I mean, that's what it would say for Damian. I think this is going. So we've already established in the previous crossover that supposedly Superman in the Supergirl universe is a loose continuation of the Smallville universe. It's like probably the way they hyped it up, because we're going to get a Smallville Superman in Crisis. We got Smallville here, and right alongside was this Supergirl universe, repeating a lot of the same things, but it's not the exact same. Alternate universe Smallville, basically. And if that's the route we're going, then what if Clark and Lex were friends as kids again? And what if we're going to go through lessons that young Clark learned and how he's going to teach his son? That's what I think. I think we're going to go, because the whole show is all about Clark and Lois teaching their child. And I tell you right now, the reason they're doing this, one, the Superman and Lois having a child that they have to raise storyline, never really been done. Two, once again, looking at CW's demographics, marketing, and what they do to handle things, their core demographic is around the ages of like 16 to 24. And what do people deal with right there? You have couples who have children and don't know how to handle them. So you could easily have a show about a young couple raising a child between the ages of 3 to 11, somewhere in there, who happens to be their child, and they're going to show, like, it's Superman dealing with fatherhood. It's going to be a great story. I'd love to see John as a child, like a baby, but you can also tell great stories with him as 11. And if we're going to have flashback sequences with a potential young Clark, young Lex, linking this to an alternate version of Smallville, what? Amazing show coming out of building up his character in Supergirl, which is why I think they're going to do that with Batwoman, where she's going to build up a Batman character who will eventually get some form of a show. And that is my theory as to what this casting call is. Not Supersons. We are going to get a young Clark, young Lex. That is what's going to be on this show. And that's it. This video is already probably like 20 minutes long of me going into the whole rant. Everyone's nodding at me. Thank you guys for your support. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you think that this is the young Lex, young Clark? Or do you think they're going to potentially whitewash Damian and go Supersons? And just throw out everything I said and just go, no, they'll excuse it. They'll come up with some way why Damian's here. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And I guess I'll see you guys next time when we do another theory video over here. I hope this wasn't too rambly. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.